All right, guys, here we go. We've got a load of coils to start off the week. This was last Monday. What day was that? This would have been the 21st of July. We started off the week with this load here in Yorkville, Ohio. And this load was going down to Homerville, Georgia, down South Georgia. And here we're just putting in some edge protectors for not only our straps, but also to kind of protect the coil. And then this probably took me about 30 minutes to secure and tarp, and I condensed it down. I sped it up and condensed it down to 3.5 minutes to kind of save some time here. But this load, I delivered a load this morning on this one in Pennsylvania, and then jumped down over here to pick this load up. So this was fairly late in the day. I think this was maybe 1 o'clock right now. And so I'm kind of in a little bit of a hustle here to get this thing tarped and get on the road and put some miles down before I got to find parking. This had to deliver, like I said, it was down in Georgia. I want to say it was an 800-mile run, and maybe it was 850 or 900 miles, and I had to deliver this. Let's see. I think I had to deliver this next day. Yeah, I delivered this next day, Tuesday, but they stayed open till 10 p.m. So I was able to get there. I think I delivered around 5 p.m. On Tuesday. So let's see, what did this load pay? Let's go over while we're doing the voiceover here. This load paid $1,900 for 824 loaded miles. That's $231 per loaded mile. And I had a 82-mile deadhead to pick it up. So not too bad. Load paid pretty well, actually. And then going down to Georgia. Georgia's a decent market. It's kind of weird, markets shift every year and every month they shift a little bit, but Georgia has been I've been really lucky in Georgia. Georgia's been a good market for flatbed. I want to say in years previous, Georgia wasn't necessarily a great market. So this is a trick I've been doing with the tarps here with this board. Uh, I don't know where I probably got that from somebody. I don't know where I got it from, but it's when you do coils or anything that's short, putting that 4x4 or 2x4 in there and folding your tarp up like that, chaining it down, just seems to work really well, because when you do coils and they're round in the front, um, any other way just seems to always not your tarp doesn't flow well. So that seems to work pretty well. So that's pretty much the end. And then I'll do my next load that I picked up on Wednesday. We'll do that once this one ends here.
Okay, this load was sorry about the audio quality. I can't figure out what's going on. The first one I did had great audio quality. This one a little loud and scratchy. But so this load was Wednesday. What had happened here was I dropped that coil load on Tuesday evening, parked the truck. Over the previous weekend, my APU starter broke, so Um, I had to idle the truck all night on Tuesday night. Woke up at 4 in the morning. Then headed up to Atlanta, where there was a carrier um, dealership, and got the carrier fixed, and then booked this load afterwards. So this was kind of late in the day. Um, this here is paint, palletized dry paint for it's road paint. It's the yellow paint. Um, and it just needed 4 foot tarps. It was pretty heavy, I think 45 or 46,000 pounds. This particular load was going up to New York, Maspeth, New York, which is basically Queens. Not a place that I'm real familiar with, and not a place that I enjoy going. At the time, it was late in the day, and this load paid really well, and the broker had called me and wanted to sell it to me, and also sold it to me with with a return load that he gave me as well. So I told him, all right, I'll do it. And uh, hadn't been to New York in several years, honestly. So it was a fun experience. But it did pay pretty well. Let me go over those notes here. So this load was 1,006 miles for 3,700. That was 368 per loaded mile. So it definitely paid the bills. I'm not sure if I would recommend people do that um, unless you're familiar with it and like it. But this particular time, this was Wednesday. I drove all day Thursday, delivered this Friday, and then headed across the river over to New Jersey to pick up the next one. So the next one in this video will be the New Jersey load coming back down. But this was pretty dang simple. I cut out a lot of the video because if you've watched any of my other videos, it's pretty simple. Throw the tarps up, button all the both ends, front and back ends up, and run your bungee rope. If you have the rope hooks on your trailer, the bungee rope works really good. Here's the unload. This is in New York, and just kind of the same, the reverse of it. Pull the tarps off, fold them up, wait for a forklift driver to come unload you. And so this went pretty smooth, honestly. As much as I don't like going to New York and dealing with that traffic, it did go pretty smooth. I was able to get in there. Not as early as I had hoped because of the whole drive just kind of drug on, but I got in there early enough to not have huge problems with the roads. Coming out, going to my next load was a little bit problematic on traffic.
All right, that's our load going to Atlanta. Throw some straps, get some blankets out, and I'm hoping that we can cover from here to there with a blanket. Oh, that's not my blanket box. Getting confused which trailer I got. So what I like to do is throw blankets and then throw straps over the top because it kind of locks the blanket in so it doesn't slide around. The front, I'm gonna have to do something tricky because I don't think there's enough room there to cover both top and bottom with the blanket. But I'm hoping this will be big enough. And on a load like this, it would help to have 3 of these. You just gotta cut the cord somewhere. You can't carry everything. Okay. Yes, we can cover everything. I wonder if we could cover the front. I use this since I've got it out just for measuring. Hey, got lucky. Thought I was gonna have to do something tricky in the front. Thought I was gonna cover the top one and the bottom bunk. I was just gonna do my trick with an edge protector stick and pass so it kind of keeps the tarp off of it, but we'll just run these 2 things. It'll be simple, easy, and throw some straps, put our 4-foot tarps up there, tarp away, and then off we go to Atlanta. I'm up in New Jersey today. Just got done with that New York delivery. I'm worn out. All that stressful driving really kind of wore me out. I'm ready to just find a place to park and be done for the day. But that's probably the hardest thing I'll do is find a place to park. So we've still got the hard task ahead of us. The sooner I get this done, the more spaces will be available in the parking situation.
Okay, we're going to start the voiceover here because I had to cut some of the video. It got a little too lengthy. So here we're just folding up our blankets here. This was New Jersey to Atlanta, and I think, what are they calling it? They're calling it some sort of electrical gusset material. And those ends were really sharp. That's why I'm trying to cover this with blankets so we don't cut the main tarp. I did not record the main tarp during the tarping because it's pretty self-explanatory how we do it. Just like any of the other tarping videos, same principle. But this is what I like to do with anything steel and sharp. So I like to run these pieces of felt. This load here was New Jersey to Atlanta, like I said. It was 944 loaded miles for $1,500. That is a pretty depressing $1.59 per mile. Now I had just gotten a pretty good rate to go into New York, so and actually these two loads were booked together. I might have already said that, but these two loads were booked together. I booked the one going in and this one at the same time with the same broker, so it was kind of figured as an all-in rate, not individually, but they sent individual rate confirmations. Can we go back to here? So see here, I was thinking, that sort of stuff could slide pretty easy. So what I did is I took an edge protector, ran my strap through the diagonal of the front of it, and you'll see what I did over here. So I think this load was pretty heavy. It was 44 or 45,000 pounds. Pretty much a full load. This I went down to North Carolina. This was Friday, and so I went down to North Carolina and reset on Sunday. I hardly made any miles today, as you can imagine, late on Friday. So I just basically went to the first place I could find parking, which was a struggle, I will say. I went to several spots and had to, of course, I had to pay for parking, but it was difficult to even find paid parking. So, and then Saturday I drove all day, got down to North Carolina, and then reset Sunday, and then drove in Monday to make this delivery. So I had fresh hours next week, and that was a wrap on the week. We did 3 loads. We did that coil load to start things off. Then I did that load of paint, palletized dry product. That went into New York. I don't normally run New York loads, but like I said, I booked these 2 together. And then this one. And that finishes off the week. That was a Monday to Monday. And I did it. Okay, I'm going to go over kind of the recap for the week. This is just some driving going into New York, just to take up some space here so I can talk about the kind of the recap. This week was dropping. We dropped in Pennsylvania, then deadheaded over to Ohio to pick up that little Coils, delivered that down in Homerville, Georgia, then had to deadhead up to Atlanta, Georgia to get the APU fixed, then deadheaded from Atlanta to Woodburn, Georgia to pick up the load of paint that went to New York, Maspeth, New York, then delivered in Maspeth, New York, and then across the river to Cluster, New Jersey to pick up that last load of steel, and that went down to Atlanta, reset on Sunday in North Carolina, and then finished out the week dropping in Monday morning in Atlanta. And so the total week was 3,189 miles for a total dollars of 7,100. That gave me 223 all miles. This was 462-mile deadhead for the week. Um, because I had to get the APU fixed, I committed to long deadheads because I just needed to get that APU fixed. So I had a let's see here, what was it? I had a 288-mile deadhead from the pick, from when I dropped to when I got the APU fixed and finally picked up again. That should have been more like 100 miles or even less, 50 miles. I could have found freight down in southern Georgia, but when your truck's broke, you got to do what you got to do. So I'm pretty happy with that, knowing that we had a repair that I had to get done during that week, and so I still was able to come out at 223 all miles. And I I started the week in Georgia and ended the week in Georgia. Georgia is a pretty good market for flatbed, so I'm pretty happy with that. That was a pretty good week for me. The the all miles, or sorry, the loaded miles for that week, if we take the deadhead out, the loaded miles is 255 per loaded mile. Um, so that's a pretty healthy number while keeping pretty high miles and pretty high revenue. Now, I don't particularly like this week. I don't know if I'd do this week again. That 81, if anybody's familiar with that Interstate 81, it's so intense with the traffic. And all of this was done during daylight hours because of the schedules. If you're going to do that, you need to be on a night shift or something because you just can't get anywhere on that highway. So I'm not real interested in doing that again. But as far as the numbers are concerned, as far as the math is concerned, it was a good week. It definitely was profitable. We made a lot of money for that week, and got an APU fix, which was made it much more comfortable to sleep. And I don't like to idle trucks. These modern trucks with admissions, you really should not idle them. And I had to idle it one whole night, and that just made me cringe. So anyway, that's the week. We did $7,100 for a total miles of 3189.